acknowledge your pain. My pain runs deep. Share it with me. original man. Manifested, arrested inside a physical skin. To spread the message, a vessel of adolescence and kills. Bring them back to the essence of excellence and ideas. The weaponry make us seem lesser than we appear. The ego, the people say is definitely my year. No question, no blessing, I'm invested in my peers. The destiny, you can see reflection in the mirror. Especially the flow hitting you like a shot. I on the way with the metaphysical body. Probably thinking I'm somewhere like Halo Illuminati. Got it. Or the copy, I keep you a star seed. The mathematics, we synthesize in the ether. Tweak at the highest peak to split the size of the speaker. Hypnotize in the street, no preacher, choir either. You redefine the physique from the meat to the fire eaters. I'm Shaka Zulu with it. Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you get it? We truly winning. Africana descendants, independent from the end and the beginning. Shaka Zulu with it. Baba, do you get it? I don't do the drama, mama, who you get it? We truly winning. Africana descendants, independent from the end and the beginning. Blowing smoke in the air high. Fly.
Yo, 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 it's the man, Mr. X. I'm back. X Sports for Revolutionaries. Here, always giving you what you want to give you what you need, like our fire network. We here. Let's go. Yeah, 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 yeah. What's up, your man, brother, man, is back. Shit has been hectic in our motherfucker, but the boy is back. Sports for Revolutionaries. You dig me? Yeah. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. What's going on, family? What's happening? What's happening? Man, I tell you, in the movement, you got sole proprietors, you got independent contractors, you got part timers, you got full timers, you got overtimers, you got per diems, and in certain times in your life, at your job, black people know about getting their hours cut. Individual, successful Negroes are able to work more for the white man, depending on their social position within the hierarchy and the infrastructure of said job that they're working at. They kiss enough ass and leave no brown over. I have never been one of those people. I've been respectful. I've been cordial, but I ain't never put my nose up nobody's ass. I've never been to a corporate party or function where a lot of my co-workers were at. They've offered me to come out several times. I have not because of the crazy shit that they do, and I don't want to know them that way. I have been out when they have been out, coincidentally, but not on purpose. I say all that to say I had to cut my hours back in the movement. And I have another child coming, and my wife is worried. And for those who are married or been married, know when your wife is worried, they worry you. So as I said in my previous live, I had to step away from my organizing responsibilities. Still, doing my thing here and there when I can, but I've been focusing on trying to stay in shape, lose weight, just a little bit, just a little bit. As they say, just a little bit. Uh, you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit. But because it's important to stay healthy. A lot of things that we talk about as we give information and talking about these diabolical crackers and the things that they do. And we can go on. I mean, we can every content creator, podcast, YouTube channel can do a series of things, series of shows on what this cracker has done to not only our people, but to themselves as well. And it still would be more content left after every channel. And remember, everybody that listens actually has an active channel. But those who are influential, those who have big channels, hundreds of thousands of views, there still would be more stories to tell. That's how evil these motherfuckers are. Evil, evil, evil. And so I said, I cannot retire because there's no retiring. You can't retire from the race problem. There's no stepping away from it. There's no reducing your hours to it. Every aspect of life is dominated by white supremacy and racism. People can't understand that. My barber, we have discussions. Some things are racist, other things are not. I tell him I'm God. He said, "Oh man, you crazy man. You losing it. You sound, whatever, whatever." And he grew up in the time of the 5%ers in the area that I live in was huge in terms of the 5% in the 90s. And he's older than me. As a matter of fact, he's like my OG, even though he's like half my size. And I just have the argument with him just to do it, just to play around. Sometimes some people be around. Everybody ear hustles. You can't help it. So if them damn tubes are not in their ears, then I engage in the discussion and hopefully they'll receive some of the information. Barbershops are great places to get to your people. And some scary Negroes there because they want their haircuts, they want to talk basketball, football, whatever, whatever, and then be on their way. Maybe a little bit of politics, but it has to be mainstream first. Everybody's got to be talking about it, and then you have to have your mainstream talking point. We can't get into nothing official, right? We can't get into something legendary. Imagine where brothers can go across your city, your county, your state, through all the black barbershops and map it out throughout the year. Ooh, that'd be a trek, or at least through the summertime, because it would be warm. And try to hit a barbershop every Thursday and Friday. No, every Friday and Saturday. For an hour, hour and a half during the busiest time and just build. Just have a building session. Just give information. Just discuss real shit that's involving our people and get to the root of the problem. Malcolm X was talking about. This is my opening dialogue, y'all. That would be fantastic. And so this show is entitled, it's got nothing to do with anything I said. I'm just chatting right now as it's the beginning of the show. Mayweather and Malcolm. Two people that got nothing to do with each other. Two ends of the spectrum. But imagine if you can merge Mayweather's wealth with Malcolm X's ideas. Man, some shit would have been possible. One thing Malcolm needed, some goddamn money. Let's start with Mayweather. As you know, Floyd Mayweather, who is a retired boxer, 44 years old, looks every bit of 44 years old. You can't be young forever, brothers. I know black don't crack and melanin and all that good shit, and I believe in it too. But we do get old. We do get old. And several people have used these points, but let's put it in perspective. Floyd Mayweather is not someone I would herald as the beacon and the exemplary of standards when it comes to black male masculinity and manhood. That would be your Fred Hamptons, your Marcus Garveys, your Martin Delaney's, your Muhammad's, Nat Turner's, especially so on and so forth. Huey Newton, people are gonna have some craziness in there, but you gotta be crazy, right? Break the mania. Had to be crazy to be free. So they have this dude and all his so-called greatness in boxing, and he is. These discussions with him and Ali being the greatest boxer of all time, we have to say pound for pound because he's a welterweight. The man strategically has stayed at 145, 154, 155. He walks around at 155 pounds, so he strategically stayed in his weight class. His other brothers have gone up and down to fight better fights. He has made people come to him. And his weight class is actually very strong a few times in his during his fight career. And the man was a genius in picking fights at the time he should fight him. He would fight Manny Pacquiao in 2008, 2009, 2010 when he was running through the welterweight division. He waited a few more years until he started to decline a little bit and took a couple losses. Then he fought him. Fighting Cotto, fighting Ricky Hatton, fighting Zab Judah, Canelo, Alvarez. All these different fighters had noticeable holes in their game. And Mayweather got to a point where he was not going to risk life in them for a knockout. He was going to make the dude just look silly in the ring. Shane Mosley took a shot from him, almost went down. Sugar Shane, his last 3 or 4 fights, was taking big fights, but losing every last one of them because there were paydays. Other guys, weren't taking him, and he was just trying to survive the 12 rounds. He never tried to really win any of the fights. He just tried to survive the 12 rounds. And I like Shane. I like Shane because he beat the crack on Oscar De La Hoya. And we know how this goes. You're an old lion at the end of your career, young guys coming up. He kicks your ass, becomes a superstar, and goes on from there. I think get who Oscar De La Hoya beat. I think Hector Camacho or something like that. As that old war horse was like 100 fights in. It's just crazy. But you beat an old war horse. You look stronger, you look younger, you look faster, you look hungrier. You beat him. Fight fans see that, say, hey, this is a guy that is going to be the next great. So you have to die on your sword in boxing to make the next great star. That helps boxing, right? Klitschko brothers kind of just like win, and then they kind of leave out. And, one of them came back, took a whipping by the light skinned boy who regained his title, which kind of helped the sport, which made it another quote unquote black, you might standards, black heavyweight champion, another black heavyweight champion. And I did a video on him. He hasn't fought since then. Deontay Wilder, when he lost his fight, Tyson Fury, it looked like Tyson Fury put steroids in his blood, and he beat Wilder. But Wilder was basically an inept fighter with no real skill set, but his big right hand. We just got to be honest. So that saved him until it didn't. You know. So in the last year or so, YouTubers with a great amount of influence have taken over the world and have thrown their hat in the prize ring. These men who are white have started calling people out, starting little beefs with people. And very few people, black people, take the challenge in this regard. And it's very disconcerting to see that that all these beefs are going on and we're constantly fighting with ourselves, but not with the enemy. Uh, as you know, our brother, Nate Robinson, decided to box. Got a little dispute with Jake Paul last year. and got into the boxing ring. Nate Robinson, a tough dude, aggressive dude, non-afraid dude, built, put together, would be a cruiserweight. Fought Jake Paul. Who the hell is Jake Paul? A YouTuber. He's a YouTuber. And he's 24 years old. Now he's the guy that's no in the quote unquote Paul family. Because Logan is a YouTuber. And so we talk about white YouTubers and obviously the white racism doesn't matter. Again, we said the system of white supremacy, all crackers that you see are white supremacists. There's none that you can point to that are not. I know you like to think that there's good white folks around that don't exist. It's apparent that they don't exist because the system wouldn't be what it is if they actually did exist. If the guys that are so-called good white folks actually existed, they would have made the painstaking changes to the system to make it just and righteous and fair for African people, which they stole so much from, right? So they can have these little videos and have these discussions and have council meetings where Becky or Susie or Karen or Jessica goes viral speaking for the so-called plain of black people, but nothing changes. Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us the white woman's his last trick, his devil's last trick, and I think he's on his last trick. You see white women everywhere. I spoke on this before. You see white women everywhere in front of everything. Everything. Whatever's being pushed, there's a white woman there. On both sides. Only on both sides. The white man is away from the camera now. It's this woman that you see 99% of the time. And so we got a little old school here with Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. Now, a little trash talking occurred, and Floyd Money Mayweather have decided to use racism as a way to make more money. I ain't mad at the brother getting his money. I am against more rich niggas. I'm good with rich niggas. Floyd Mayweather is a rich nigga, right? Because we speak from the ancestors. We don't come from a liberal conservative thought process of trying to obtain wealth and be amongst the Josephs. Because our people have tried that, have been successful individually, and the crackers have taken it back every time. So it's been collectively unsuccessful. So I'm good with more rich niggas. Now, I ain't gonna hit on your bread, but I'm good with rich niggas. And this is quite obvious. Once the Conor McGregor thing popped off, and you got dudes whom have never fought in a boxing ring ever in their life are getting the chance to fight probably the greatest fighter of all time. They make bank, and he makes bank. And the stadium's full. And we're just going to leave out the Jack Johnson racial great white hope pretext and context of these fights. You know, Jack Johnson, the greatest, one of the greatest heavyweight champions we've ever had. The first one was recognized domestically, internationally, so on and so forth. Having won a title and fought a white man and beaten the white man for the title. And that for years and years and years, they tried to get that title by finding white man after white man after white man. They was putting gloves on white motherfuckers that looked like bears. He was fighting out of his weight class. And hell, he held that belt until he was like 50, and they got somebody that was 20 years old that was a hayseed, like 6'9", 260 pounds. He still dropped his ass. So to get the belt back, man, they had to get the same type of guy with the same type of prototype in 100-degree weather and fought like 50 rounds or some crazy shit like that. I'm just off the top of my memory. But they had forced other previous champions come back out of retirement because they said a white man should hold the greatest titles in sports, and that's the heavyweight champion of the world. And he got his ass kicked. Y'all look that up. So 100 years later, we're doing it again. The Great White Hype. That's what it ends up becoming. Watch the movie Great White Hype. Funny ass movie. And they make fun of the whole racial aspect of these boxing matches. An undefeated champion that can't be beat, bored with the sport, retires, looking for another big payday, but the American public is not satisfied. None of the fighters want to fight him. So they find this white boy, they create some type of beef, and there's the money. The thing is, there's no need to find a beef. We know the climate. The crackers want the white boy to win. The brothers want the black man to win. I don't like Floyd Mayweather at all. But we talking about code here. I want the only time I rooted for him was with Conor McGregor. And he dropped that crack ass white boy, and it was beautiful. And they, matter of fact, the brother man who was the goddamn referee didn't let him drop him because he was going down, and he went and saved his ass. The brother man should let him get his boop 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 and let him hit that canvas. Let him hit that canvas and get count and then count him out. Don't even wave him off. Hit 1, 2, 3, nice and slow. 4, 5, 6. Because he wasn't getting up, just egging it on. We didn't have your back, brother. We didn't have your back, brother. This Conor McGregor ass is laid out. But that's what it's about. See, this what shows your level of consciousness. If you can get past the fact that Floyd Mayweather's a goddamn coon. Yes, he's a coon, but we on cold here. He fighting this big 6'2", 290-pound motherfucking dude who's a cruiserweight, which is like 3-4 weight classes above Floyd Mayweather. And in the fight, which was an exhibition, wasn't a real fight. But see, these crackers, this is how these crackers do. They'll set up and say, hey, it's an exhibition. This doesn't really count. It's not even really real. Nothing's really even happening. So we're not even keeping score. It's like the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones fight, and the sparring. But if you look around, there's hundreds of people. It's thousands of people in the stands, and we just watching this girl fight sparring match. And it's a main event. And Chad Ochocinco, he fought too. Former athlete in the 40s. Hey, let's everybody try it. This is the paradigm shift here. Forget training all your life and being a boxer all your life. Hey man, I'm gonna take up this sport. I'm gonna do it now, and I'm a YouTuber. And so hey, I could beat Floyd Mayweather because I'm 6'2", 190 pounds. I work out. I look good. I mess around in the gym a little bit. I could fight possibly the greatest fighter of all time, who is 20 years older than me. Jack Johnson all over again. And he see them punches coming, and he could move out the way. And Jake was getting a bloop, and he wobbled, and he almost went down. And these sports commentators, man, oh man, why haven't that cracker died yet, Skip Bayless? Why won't he die? Everybody else is dying. He won't die. We just lost Clarence Williams the third. I don't never call Clarence Williams the third just Clarence. I always call him Clarence Williams the third. And he's gone. But Skip Bayless is still fucking alive, and he's sharp too. So he still makes that nonsensical white supremacist sense that he does. We overanalyzes every fucking thing and micromanages everything. It's like, dude, it's not that serious. So Floyd gets hit, and then from round 3, he starts swinging everything he had at him, and he couldn't knock him out. Really, man? Really? Floyd didn't take this thing seriously, and none of us would have took it seriously. But that's what crackers try to get us. See? And he's like, no, hey, no, we're not going to take it seriously. We're not going to take it seriously. But crackers are. Just think if he'd have landed a good punch and knocked Floyd Mayweather out. You remember what he did, the other one did to Nate Robinson. Oh, they ran that. The mammies came everywhere. The mammies was out. They was mammifying, fronting on Nate. Nah, you don't front on your brother. You don't do that. You interview the dude and keep your panties on, your drool in your mouth, and you be a journalist. You be a journalist. Hey, he's winning the fight. You know what I'm saying? Respect, you won. You did, but I ain't gonna be slobbing on you. Please. So Mayweather handles business, and they're gonna do a media spin to make it, like he won because he went to 8 rounds with him, and it was only 2 minutes, and the dude was gassed after 3 rounds because he was in the ring with a great fighter, not just a fighter, but a great fighter, probably the greatest fighter, and he stood up for 8 rounds. But if Floyd wanted to take it easy on any one of us, and we held him the whole fight, we could do the same thing. Just survive 8 rounds. But that was a win for them, and they flipping that thing, Oh, Floyd looks bad. He gets $50 million looking back. But again, like I said, put this in context. I am not. This is Sports Revolutionary. So we deal with sports here. So, peace, Mr. Jones. Word up, word up. 2 minutes, 8 rounds. 2 minutes, 8 rounds, exhibition. Boom, get that out the way. Floyd Mayweather goes back into exile. If some other white cracker doesn't challenge him to a fight next year, which would be the other one since he got an actual win. And so he out there looking like Conor McGregor, shouting and cheering and all that. I hate these devils. I do. I really do. I really don't like white folks at all. But see, that's not the best part of this show tonight. Because we're gonna switch gears. I said Mayweather and not. Mayweather handled this. It's still 50-0. They'll try to add an exhibition. If he was to lose an exhibition, they will try to put that in the records, even though it don't count because it's not official. Then he won the fight. They'll say it's a draw. Hell, there'll be people who lie, white supremacists will lie and say, hey, he won the fight, even though there was no scorecard. They had the unofficial, hey, this is the round, this is what I got. You know the thing would be. They had the Coons, Jesus, and Mero just making no sense, laughing at non-funny jokes. I'm sorry. The Spanish dudes that be loud, talk fast, and laugh at their own jokes that's not funny is corny as hell. Just corny as hell. But they seen the success Snoop had on his commentary with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, so they tried to mirror that. And Snoop is part of the culture, so you wasn't gonna be able to duplicate that with these two fools. But white folks are gonna try. They're gonna do what they do. They, they're gonna try to do what they do, which is make us look bad as possible. It's a win for them. So when looking for, I know Mr. X, you do what you want to get to see my ancestral father, Malcolm X, my ancestral teacher. I come across a particular interview, and I didn't think they made Negroes like this because you go in these discussions, and Malcolm's usually the best example of him having equal discussions with whites and blacks about the race problem that they would surround him with coons and white folks who oppose his viewpoints and try to challenge him on every word. And I found one that is quite appalling. And I would listen to it over and over again. He debates a woman named Evie Rich. The NAACP and other civil rights groups will never get their top guns. Dr. King ain't never come from no smoke from out. It was always sending somebody else, some other Negro. That was by design. They would happily go and try to debate our great minister. And they would get their butts kicked. This woman they found, she was married to a white woman, a white man, had the most annoying voice. In 1961, she pitted herself against Malcolm X. And she worked for CORE, or worked with CORE. And Malcolm beat the crap out of her. But I just want you to hear, because brothers and sisters, there are people who still think and act like this woman that you'll hear. And I'm gonna go through the entirety of the discussion, but I'm gonna go through the entirety of the discussion, but I'm gonna go through the entirety of uh, the discussion. But I want you to hear some of this, man. It's important that we hear these, we go over these things, because we're gonna run into people uh, who still sound the way that they do. So let's deal with it. To assert that he already has it, and that the white man ought to recognize this. And this was an effective mechanism, an effective technique. And this is an important technique in the whole method of nonviolence in terms of putting pressure on the white community with the result of changing attitudes. You see, this is essentially what we feel. We feel that this is a moral and a psychological problem as well as a legal problem. Speaking of this. So that was Evie Rich in the beginning. It's the beginning of the discussion. The audio was only 22 minutes, and I'm sure that the discussion was a little longer than that. But this is the only audio that has been released so far. You know, the archives and things, they have all the Malcolm stuff, everything that's been recorded. These are things that have been destroyed or kept in the files of the FBI and certain white racist institutions that won't allow us uh, to view or go over uh, his speeches and his interviews, right? So they've done that to Dr. King as well. They take ownership of speeches or writings that were done on the campus or in conjunction with the campus. So not even the damn family can get hold of the writings or the audio tapes and stuff like that. This is what these devils do. They keep you in bondage even after death. But as you see, the woman talked about changing attitudes. How often do we talk about changing the attitudes of white folks? I mean, we deal with the genetic thing, the creation thing, right? You know, the origins of these people, how bestial and psycho they are, right? And there's no changing that. But the Negro was taught by the white person. The white person said that we were all the same. Those liberal white folks said that. The white racists said we're different. White racists said the white man is superior. Didn't Adolf Hitler say that? In his Olympics, to show to the world that yes, we are the greatest creation of mankind. And Jesse Owens just ran all over these people. Right? So from that formula, they said, hey, this is what we are. We are superior. And the homely Negro, this is core now. Congress of Racial Equality. Racial equality. Being snuggled up to the white man. If that's what we want, ultimately, these people who are built up, no different than they are now. The leaders are saying the same things, changing attitudes. We believe it to be a moral problem and a psychological problem. Those from that time period who are still living are still given audience to speak to our people on mainstream media outlets. Now, the real black media has taken the minds of black people by storm, but these folks are still here. They're still out there and they're still dangerous. Let's continue.
Pressure. Speaking of this $20 billion purchasing power, Malcolm, you disagree, as you have stated, with Gore. You disagree on sit-ins. You disagree on the freedom buses, and yet you would picket stores and establish boycotts against white business people.
Never picketed stores. We've never established boycotts.
Well, now again, I'm quoting from this book, which you have the right to contradict.
Absolutely.
Now, Malcolm, the man just said the total purchasing power of the Negro during that time was, I believe, $4 billion. We know it's in the trillions now. This is 1961. And so, if you know, the nation's position is to accumulate our funds collectively, have some sort of some form of cooperative and operating unity, right, to establish the things that we need to create the things that run our day-to-day lives. If we have toothpaste, we created it. If we have orange juice, we created it. If we have refrigerators, we created it. So on and so forth. So you have to have factories to create the refrigerator. You have factories to break down the oranges and squeeze the juice, and then the juice goes into a container. And these containers are connected to a company. And those companies need to be owned and controlled by black people, so that this orange juice goes to the mouths, into the body of black people as fresh as possible, right? So on and so forth. So this is Malcolm's counter. And so it's important to have 3 or 4 people at the table opposing his position or not even recognizing it.
You're wrong. Muslims have never picketed any stores, nor have we ever practiced any kind of boycott.
You believe in an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth?
Obviously, the Bible itself believes in an eye for
The white man believes in
The
an eye.
Bible does not say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now it does.
We don't want to get off into it.
No, well, let's not talk about
Let's
it.
get off into that. What I want
I'll challenge
Hold on
this
just 1 second. I know you have it there. Eustace, will you come in?
Yeah, what I want to say to Malcolm is that his analogy between 20 million person power of Negroes in the United States, and bringing into the question of Norwegian, Sweden, and Swedes and so on, all of that is altogether different. The thing that makes it so difficult with us here is that what he says has a great degree of plausibility. But what he doesn't tell you is, what he doesn't say, what he doesn't realize, or else doesn't care to bring it to the front end, how is the $20 billion made up? From where does it come? How would he get it if he were to, how much of it would he carry with him? How much of it would he get? How much of it would he have if he were to follow the Muslim teaching of separation? He wouldn't have much of it. You see, the Norwegians control Norway, the Danes control Denmark, Sweden, and their purchasing power, whatever it is, they're using for themselves. We don't control the United States of America, nor its economic foundation.
Eustace, this goes along with one of
And just real quick, eye for an eye is in the Bible. You must show no pity for the guilty. Your rule should be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Deuteronomy 19:21. Huh? Take no pity on the guilty. Who's more guilty than the white man? They believe in violence, and they wrote that goddamn book, and they believe in violence. They believe in, if you turn the other cheek, I'm gonna slap you on that cheek too. Aggression, huh? That's what they believe in. But again, here are these Negroes not coming up with a plan and a solution, as Malcolm is doing, accumulating the funds of our people and working together. They're talking about kissing up and loving the white man. That's no solution. That's no solution. But they're maligning his position. Let's keep going.
things you said at lunch. May I say this morning? It was delightful lunch. I wish we'd had a microphone.
Sure it
there.
was right now.
Believe me, but one of the things you said at lunch, that the Negro could not have survived if it had not been for this Christian spirit over the years. It could have been
You know what this cracker just said? The Christian spirit is the white man. That in the discussion they had in lunch, which was so delightful because the white man was pleased, that Eustace Gray, another Negro, said if it wasn't for good old white folks, the Negro would not be where we at right now. And you know, a lot of you niggas think like that, which also holds us back. Because when black people like me come up to you and say, let's run, let's separate from this cruel and evil beast, he's saying, go where? Go where? Leave this good white man? Leave his job? Leave the investment opportunities? The 401k? Huh? What you Negroes got? You ain't got nothing? You can't you can't offer nothing to the niggas on the street that's killing each other. What the hell you gonna offer me? No, I'm staying with this white man. He gives me a Becky, right? The one he don't want, but I'll take her. She still look good. He look just as good as the ones he got. I believe. Suits me fine. Becky suits me fine. So go on somewhere with that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell him right now. You, you, you damn crazy nigga trying to run away.
This Christian spirit. I know, Malcolm, that you're anxious to get in here now. No, Malcolm, he is looking for. No, I'm not. Are you trying to find the iFrame I? Well, it's in there. I know it's in there. I think she was in there.
Deuteronomy 19:22.
There's a point that you brought out.
You didn't ask, but just a minute, Malcolm. You didn't answer Mr.
19:21.
Gay's
Sorry,
question, and
Deuteronomy
I think that this
19:21.
is a very good question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Malcolm. When you mentioned this black bourgeoisie situation, a book that Dr. Frazier wrote, and the
He got the
failure
book.
of
I can't seem to
that
find the
type
damn
of
thing.
Negro to be successful by using the economic enterprises, what you failed to point out was, in the past, all of these efforts made on the part of the Negroes in this country was without land. When you have some land, then you have something to go on. Land is the basis of all economic independence or economic stability or economic security. Land is the most important thing, and this is the number one thing that the black people in America have never had since we were kidnapped from Africa and brought here to be made slaves by the white man. And when you tell me that.
God damn, Malcolm, you man, listen. I, man, if you just play Malcolm sometimes, just play him and just listen. Just Malcolm X. Oh, God nobody knows. Malcolm X. It's so simple. They took the critical thinking element from the black man. It's simple. If you have land, it is yours, and what's in the land is yours. And now you can go into the land, you can put your hands into the land and see what is it that it can be produced so that it can become an economic base. If you have corn in your land, not only do you eat corn, but you sell it as well. You consume with which you produce. You don't outsource not a goddamn thing. You don't give a fuck what it is. All contracts stay right here. And we control everything. If you're on somebody else's land, you don't have an economic infrastructure. They can just tax the shit out of you. Or just say, you know what, I don't want you here no more. And they have a goddamn military to back them up. They don't just say, hey, get out by themselves. They've never said, get out. That's not fun. To be a white supremacist is not fun. To just tell a nigga, get out the motherfucking way because I said so. Nah, I must hang you, I must rape you, I must burn you, I must eat you. I must use you as an aphrodisiac. I must take your private parts. I must rip you and break you apart and create creatures. Huh? That's the beauty of being a white supremacist. It's not just telling you to leave. I mean, blow your head off. I mean, bomb your communities. As recent as 1985, you ain't got to go 100 years to find that America bombed the black community. They did it in Philly in 1985. The people are still alive. Come on. What we talking about here? Keep going, Malcolm. Shit.
That there are $20 billion. Yes, it is in the hands of many Negroes, but the upper class or middle class Negro, there's no such thing as upper class Negro, who has the control of this wealth, instead of using it like the white man has done to establish businesses and factories and industries for his kind, the black people who have this wealth spend that wealth imitating the white man rather than establishing businesses and factories and other type of industry. You have immigrants in this country, right here in Philadelphia, who haven't been here 50 years and have come and who came here poor. Yet they have gone downtown here in Philadelphia and set up stores with their names on them. And when their children come out of school, their children have jobs in which to work. They have set up factories with their name on them. Their children have jobs when they come out. Now, Negro, you and I, our forefathers, have been here 400.
And that's still the way to go. I want to add. That's still the way to go. I love that idea better than anything else. Pulling our resources together, leaning on one another, leaning on one another. We got the money. We got money. We got money in the bank. We got money in the mattress. We got money in our pockets. We got money in our shoes. Or we got money because they got our annual income was in the trillions, and what we spend is 3 times as much as that. So we got the money. We just have to organize it and put it together. But we got the money. I like that idea better than anything else because these investments, we're giving our money right back to crackers. We're right back to square one. If we are not the multi-billion-dollar businesses and corporations, if we are not them that the common folk, the 9 to 5 folk, are investing in to get rich off of, then we're right back in the same spot, creating more rich niggas. And all these big corporations, their hands are in Africa. We must reconcile that. These phone companies, they got their hands in Africa. But where is the material? Look up the material of the phone. They could use or reuse the material they already got. They don't want to. Again, that's that's too much like right. That makes too much sense. That's no fun to be in the white supremacists. I must continue to go into the land to harm the land. Because I'm a fucking parasite, a dead zombie who seeks on the living. The planet is a living vessel. I must suck it dry. What did the movie Avatar tell you? These crackers go from planet to planet, sucking the resources, sucking the resources until the planet turns into a rotted cadaver. When they don't have to live that way, where Africans have shown them how to live, and they said, "I don't want to live like Africans. I want to live like a white man." What the fuck is a white man genetically? A fucking gnat, rabbit, dog, cat. Let's go, Malcolm.
Years. We have been up from so-called slavery since the emancipation 100 years. And as the New York Times brought out, we control $20 billion a year, and yet you can't point in any direction and look at factories that are being set up by these wealthy Negroes. All they're doing is taking that money and forcing the white man to sell him a house in the white neighborhood to try and imitate the social life
You're
of
gonna
the
listen
white
to
man. They're trying
Easy
to
Rich one response.
escape
That's all
from
we're
being
gonna
a
need.
Negro. They're trying to escape
I'm gonna
from
end
being
that
black. They're trying to escape
audio.
from what they were born as, and they're using what they do have instead of to uplift their people to force themselves upon white people and live among white people.
I disagree with you on two instances.
And on that integrated lynch counters that you pointed out as a step forward, you should be ashamed of yourself because anytime you have 20 million black people in this country who contributed 310 years of slave labor to make the economic system of America as strong as it is, to think that the black masses whose ancestors made this contribution of sweat and blood, even in war, to make America what it is, do you think that they would be satisfied today just to sit down at a restaurant with a Mississippi white man or an Alabama white man as a just compensation for these 310 years of slave labor? Why, it's insane.
I disagree with Malcolm in several instances. First of all, I challenge the
Now listen
statement
to her.
that
She
land
don't make
is
no
the
sense.
basis of our economic system. Now, I certainly would not say that it is not an important factor in our
Challenge
economic
it how?
system. It is, but it is not the factor on which our
What
economic
is the
system
factor?
rests, and I think most students of economics are aware of this. Secondly,
That's the thing. See, Amos Wilson talked about that bullshit. She's talking about white economics. The white man is talking from the perspective of power, meaning I already got the land. So you as students, we already got that. We already got that straight. The infrastructure is already laid out. So we're not even going to deal with land. So she's coming from the white perspective. She's Europeanized. Malcolm is like, no, we got to be completely rebuilt. We don't have a goddamn thing. We don't have nothing. First, we need the land. First, we need the land. Then you build on the land. What the fuck? You can't build shit without a land. Bruh, bruh. Challenge the statement, but don't give no type of response to the challenge. Or say, I challenge the statement. Okay, what is your perspective? Give us your data. Give us your research. Give us your scholarship. What are you talking about? Challenge. Okay, challenge it. Well, most economists will agree that it's not. You talking about white economics. Hey, you can be talking about black too, because they've been taught by the same cracker that taught you from the European perspective. You're not coming from the liberation perspective. You're not coming from the nation building perspective. We don't have no fucking land. Ever heard of neo-colonialism? Did they talk about that in college that you went to? Of course they did. Of course they did. During that time, she went to college probably in the 40s or 50s. They didn't even recognize the Negro, the black man, the African American, melanated, whatever you want to call yourself, the Moor. Didn't even recognize you. They spoke from the perspective of the European. That's it. The miseducation of the Negro. The educated class is doomed to fail us because they've been made to be niggas.
I want to comment on Malcolm's statement that the Negro is rejecting himself as a Negro.
Which
This
he
is
is.
not true. I think that the middle class Negro is rejecting the fact that he is a Negro. This is not true. I think that the sit-in movement, I think that the Freedom Riders, I think all of these point out graphically the assertion of the Negro as a person and as a Negro.
That's assertion.
I am a Negro and I am a Negro American.
This is what Irritated Jeannie talked about with women leading the movements. That's assertion to them. Jeannie talks about the man stepping up and being a man and deals in insurrections and revolutions and rebellions. That's the man being a man. Hey, I don't like that my woman is being raped. Hey, I don't like that my child's being raped. Hey, I don't like that my child's being sold. Hey, I don't like that I'm being raped. So the only thing to do is not to sit in and wait in and pray in and bleed in and get on your knees. No, I've been on my knees. I've been on my knees. It's time to burn all this shit down. There's no 12-man jury. There's no delineation. There's no judge banging the gavel. I am the judge, jury, and executioner. You crackers are guilty. And the penalty is death. Because the price of freedom is death. You're not going to sit there and allow me to be free. So I believe the sit-in rulers and the freedom riders. Free to do what? Die? Because that's what them crackers did to them two Jews and the black boy. Knew that they was coming, set their ass up, and killed them. No one went to jail. The FBI knew all about it. The governor knew all about it. And they played along with it. The hell are you talking about, lady? What are you talking about? The Negro's assertion that we are human beings and we are Negroes and just whatever term the cracker gave her, she ate it up. Listen to this. It gets worse.
And this is important, and I think that many other Negroes feel this way. The third point that I want to make, and I think this is important, is that the fight for integrated lunch counters is much more than the fight to sit down and drink a glass of water with a white Southern segregationist. It's an assertion of one's equality and human dignity, and it's merely a statement saying, I will go where I please and I will do what I will in this country, which is supposed to be free. I think that the sit-in movement, the Freedom Riders indicate the intense desire of the American Negro to redeem the Constitution. And I think this kind of constructive action in the local community is one of the most effective ways of realizing this goal in the very near future.
Our guests on the talk of
That whole constructive thing. That's what the Negro educated class wants you to believe. There's a constructive and formal and respectful way to be recognized by the racial masses as contributors and human beings of the planet. Not the first and the last. Not the power position we're supposed to have. We just want to be recognized. And we want all this recorded so that our future generations will continue to fight the same fight of recognition. Not real assertion, as she said, assertion in the way of taking back what is rightfully ours. She really wants to sit next to a fucking white man, and that's what she did. She married a white man. So she has to be careful in what she's saying. So she has to denounce everything that Malcolm is saying. She has to go against everything Malcolm is saying as to appease a white man. I said, this is 1961. Well, brothers, I can play some modern stuff, but Malcolm X is not in the room because they removed the Malcolm X now. They removed him. They give you coons on Breakfast Club as they asked Brother Umar, hey, you still feel the way about interracial dating? Yeah, motherfucker. Yes, I feel the same way. Yes, that's not gonna change, bro. You keep having me back here, ask me that same dumbass question, and we go viral because you nigga nuts believe that you can screw anybody. You can, you can. If you want to do that, you can. But we talking about marrying. We talking about passing down wealth. We talking about splitting wealth. If there's a separation of sorts, we're talking about having our race intact because our numbers are down. You just think that we would not have numbers being decreased if our people in the thought process of our women are saying, I ain't got no kids, I don't want no kids, and we're getting attacked and killed and murdered in every direction possible. But the first form of genocide is through the mind. Hey, I don't want to procreate. I don't want to live into the future. I have waved the white flag. And they knew if they get the majority of Negroes thinking like that woman thought and thinks, it would have us defeated, even with their numbers naturally declining. Remember, brothers and sisters, they need a whole system in their favor so that they are the face of beauty. They are the face of recognition, of influence, of power, of respect, ordinance, structure, creation, God. They're the face. They're the face. We debunked the Jesus thing 100 million times. You go into Walmart or Price Chopper. Uh, some of y'all might not know what Price Chopper is, local shopping market. They still have pictures of Jesus. Still have pictures of Elvis. These motherfuckers been dead. Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, JFK Jr. It's like the 90s. I remember I was alive when these people were alive. Well, JFK Jr., not the other guys. They were in the magazine then. These motherfuckers on the magazine when they alive and when they dead. Cracker faces. Knowing that your children, those images are embedded in your children's minds. Because they want to make more Evie Riches and Houston Gays or Grays or whatever that Negro was. When you had the revolutionaries there, they had to hang on us every word. Now you said this word. What does that mean exactly? They did it to Stokely Carmichael. Then his brothers like Leonard Jeffries, they did it to H. Rap Brown, who was dying slowly in the prisons. He's got several ailments and afflictions, and he's during that time of transition, brothers and sisters, and they're gonna let him rot and die in prison. Oh, Malcolm was a beast, man. Whew. I want to thank y'all for listening. Cash App, Mr. XR for support. You see it on the screen. Try to put more content up. Whatever I feel I'm gonna speak about. Uh, I didn't do any shows on Kwame Brown. I knew that was just gonna be kind of like a streak in the night that he's still creating content and stuff and getting quite a few views. I didn't really do a show on him because I'm familiar with his basketball career. So, this is a sports show, so I kind of merged the two. Um, but I was not a fan of him, and I guess I'll end with that. I was not a fan of him as a player because my favorite player was Kobe Bryant, you know, and my favorite player was Michael Jordan. He played on both of those teams with both of those players. The aging Jordan with the Wizards, and then the ascending Kobe Bryant, and he just was not a factor at all as a number one pick, and at least you know contributing or being a factor as a number one. He had to be Patrick Ewing, something like that. I ain't expect you to be Shaquille O'Neal as number one pick, because not everybody was Shaquille O'Neal, of course. But out of those 12 years, that you could be a factor. And a factor is at least 10 and 12 and 5. A guy that can get you double figures, show up in the playoffs, be reliable, put to play 30 minutes a night. But he just wasn't that guy. He had flashes, but he just wasn't that guy. And he said he was destroyed in his early years in Chicago. Well, Washington. I'm sorry. Well, I come from the spectrum of having been a player, so I know what it takes to be great, and it's a breaking process. You are broken to pick yourself up. Now, black men don't know the picking up process, so you're broken down, and then you have to pick yourself back up. And Kwame wasn't strong enough to be able to do that, to pick himself back up and be great as a player. So I let him live in the things and grow as someone who is seeking information and knowledge and going to the source. We can tell him, hey, don't fuck with that guy, don't fuck with that guy, leave him alone, all that stuff. I've had it done to me. You all have had it done to you. Seek. Go see, get that firsthand. It's not a waste of time. Trust me, you need the experience. It's experience. We try to live other people's lives. We can't do that. We can only advise them as much as we can, allow them to make their own decisions. You know what I'm saying? People are gonna do what they're gonna do. We have to respect that. We have to understand that. As long as you're advising, as a friend, as a confidant, it's cool. But once you step out of that, it's gonna be something different. So brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for listening. Mr. XR, Cash App for support. Put your hands in my pocket. Like I said, July 9th, I'll be having a discussion with Brother Efudishi, Grand Master. We're going to divulge into some very deep stuff, and y'all used to that. Deacons don't go deep on y'all all the time. So y'all used to that, but we can go into Kemet, we can go into certain things. I'm trying to have a real good interview with some real powerful information, try to dig powerful information out of the brother so that we all can learn about our history, because that's ultimately what we want. We may not be happy with what the brothers have established or the lack of establishment, but if we take the information, we can establish some things, right? So that being said, I'm out. Thank y'all for coming. God bless. Good night.